Well, welcome everyone to the, excuse me, to Tuesday, March 24th Board of Commission. We will call the meeting to order. We have one addition to the agenda, and that is a request for approval to submit application for congressional direct funding for the West Central Regional Juvenile Center and the non-secure juvenile facility. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the addition?
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, motion is approved. We have our consent agenda with approval to fill a vacant part-time custodial position. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any citizens to be heard? There's no one in the audience here. Anybody online, Steve?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
All right. We'll move on. Approval of payments of bills and voucher.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to pay the bills and vouchers.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we have the approval of the minutes from March 10th, 2026 and March 17th, 2026.
Mr. Chair, do you want those in separate motions or one motion?
I think one is fine.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 10th and March 17th of 2026.
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. We're on to 835, request approval to appoint Michael Butenhoff to the Clay County Extension Committee. And here's Cecilia. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning. You should all have a package in front of you with Michael Butenhoff as our new recommended from the CEC new committee member. So we're just seeking approval to approve Michael for a 3-year term.
I'll just make a quick comment. I don't know Michael myself, but I certainly know his family out in the Sabin area, and as we read his resume, his background, I think is just a perfect fit for what we do. Yeah, his background, 4-H, working at on the fair board, I think it just gives us another end of doing our business in a good order. So, any questions for Cecilia?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Butenhoff to the Clay County Extension Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to appoint Michael Butenhoff to the Extension Committee. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Any other words of wisdom?
Just so you know, before we bring these individuals in front of you, we've vetted them in different ways. So this process has gone through the 4-H Federation. We had a few people that were interested, so Michael made it out of that. And then we brought it to the RCEC for approval before we brought it here. So just so you know that we've done our due diligence before bringing it here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Look forward to working with them.
Yeah, excited. I think, are we up next? For
Yes.
another one? Okay, so I'll call my troop to come on in.
Wonderful. We have a great group. Our next thing on the agenda today is the annual department update for the Clay County Extension Service.
Thank you. This is our annual departmental update for our extension office. And before we get started, I would just like for individuals to just introduce themselves so you know who's sitting in front of you before we
Please.
go into our presentation.
Hi, I am Jill Patry, and I am the horticulture educator here in Clay County.
I'm Martha Wheeler, and I'm a recently graduated Master Gardener volunteer.
Hi, I'm Monica, and I am a 4-H member.
I'm Monique Stelzer. I'm the 4-H Youth Development Extension Educator in Clay County.
I'm Amelia Landsberg. I'm also a Clay County 4-H Extension Educator.
I'm Jen Erdahl, support staff, Clay County.
All right, I'll kick you off this morning. Thanks for letting us come in today, talk a little bit about our department update with Clay County Extension. As you're aware, the Clay County government partners with the University of Minnesota to bring research-based education and hands-on learning right here to Clay County residents. Whether those people are looking to grow healthier gardens, strengthen their families, their communities, or to explore youth programs, or to expand their knowledge in agriculture, Clay County Extension is here to meet those needs. Extension's mission is to be accessible to everyone in the county, to connect people with practical solutions and resources, and to build individual skills and strengthen communities, connecting citizens with knowledge, tools, and support to create meaningful change at home, at work, and across our communities. You did just meet all of us, but briefly, the 4 of us that are part of the MOA agreement that are placed in the Clay County office are Amelia Landsberg, Jennifer Erdahl, Jillian Patry, and myself. I'll turn it over to Jill to kind of talk about the next piece.
All right, thank you. The University of Minnesota Extension delivers 2 programs here in Clay County, A&R Agriculture and Natural Resources, and 4-H. The scope of programming and services available in the county depends on the program selected and the level of local investment. Extension connects university research with real-world needs in the county, providing residents with practical education and skill-building opportunities. By supporting Extension, stakeholders help translate education that improves decision-making, develops future leaders, and creates communities that are better prepared to address local challenges and opportunities. Through extension programs, research-based knowledge turns into action, creating lasting benefits for the people, businesses, and communities we serve.
Okay, so I'll start us off with the 4-H side of things. So, did you all know that over half of Gen Z and Gen Alpha feel that they are not prepared or are failing at their life goals? Today's youth face real challenges. Many aren't prepared for life after high school and struggle with loneliness or other negative feelings. Youth must develop the necessary skills to thrive in a future where 85% of jobs haven't even been invented yet. Our program helps youth build skills, gain confidence, and instills the mindset for youth to succeed in their career, life, and in their community. This manifests through 4-H programming, leadership opportunities, and real-life experiences. For our partners, this means that youth who are a part of 4-H leave ready to live healthy, productive, and engaged lives. This leads to higher post-secondary readiness, community sustainability, workforce skill development, and higher levels of health and wellness. Next slide. But next we're going to invite Monica Wilson, one of our own 4-H youth members, to talk about some of her experiences with Clay County 4-H. Monica is one of our outstanding youth members who is currently serving as a club and federation officer. She's just one example of our youth members stepping into leadership roles and making the most of 4-H opportunities.
Hi, I'm Monica Wilson. I am in 9th grade in the Blue Eagle Clovers 4-H club. I started 4-H when I was in 2nd grade. I started my 4-H journey showing one pig with my dad and a couple of school art projects as a clover bud. I expanded my interests mainly in pigs, but also in many different fields. This past year at County Fair, I showed 6 pigs, a pair of chickens, art, wood projects, food, and photography. During County Fair, I've done many interviews with my animals and static projects, which has helped me learn more about my projects and helped me express my love towards them. On the state level, I have shown pigs at State Fair for 3 years in a row. State Fair is an amazing experience. I get to meet a lot of new people and make numerous new memories. After 8 years of showing pigs, I decided to farrow my own. I farrowed 2 of my pigs I had shown last year. It ended up going amazing, and I got 16 little piglets. Raising piglets is not only tons of fun, but they are also teaching me patience and hard work. Along with showing at county and state fair, I went to a livestock judging camp at the U of M Minneapolis campus, where I learned how to judge swine, cattle, sheep, and goats. Using my knowledge of animals, I joined a livestock knowledge bowl team, and we just recently competed. I am also a part of my club. I started as a pledge leader in my first couple years and soon advanced to club secretary, where I learned organization and responsibility. Soon after, I became our club president. I'm now part of the 4-H Federation. In the Federation, I'm the secretary. Through being the secretary, I'm just now learning all the dedication and hard work that goes into running the entire organization. After high school, I plan on going to college. In college, I will use all the skills I've learned through 4-H and hopefully teach others all I know about agriculture and pigs. 4-H pushed me out of my comfort zone and allowed me to do things I love. It's hard to believe that something that is now a huge part of my life and my biggest hobby all started with just one pig and some art projects.
Thank you, Monica. We appreciate you sharing your story today. One of the things that strengthens the local youth 4-H development program is our ability to assess local program conditions and program needs each year. The needs assessment that we do annually leads to the development of 3 locally relevant goals that address our program delivery, our growth, and our retention. In 2026, we hope to grow our volunteer base. We hope to increase our retention rates for community club members like Monica, and to introduce STEM learning opportunities for all youth in the County 4-H program, both in clubs as well as after-school programs. Those goals will help us work smarter and to help us work intentionally, giving time and support to high-quality programs that meet multiple accomplishments. One of the current programs that we're working toward right now that'll help us meet all 3 of those goals is an event called the Project Activity Day. Project Activity Day is a multi-session hands-on project workshop where youth choose 3 projects to build or create from a menu of options. Youth attend Project Activity this year are able to select from a variety of STEM projects such as DNA extraction, homopolar motors, balloon car engineering, wood shelf construction, wood planter construction, microgreen seed starting, entomology, and building mousetrap shooters. Clay County 4-H has been blessed with a private donation over several years that helps support STEM program delivery across the county. Previously, that financial support was targeted for after-school programs. This year, we're maximizing the Glendon Farms financial support by broadening the reach beyond our after-school programs to include STEM programming offered during Project Activity Day. This will also help us work towards growing our volunteer base by engaging project activity instructors who become new volunteers in our program. Most importantly, research has proven that youth who engage in the full project learning cycle with 4-H, youth who select projects that interest them, compete with those projects, and then ultimately showcase their learning, achieve higher levels of engagement, which leads to longer retention in the youth program. In that way, Project Activity Day is more than just a hands-on workshop for young people. It's a way for adults to become volunteers. It's a way for youth to explore and discover their passions, which ultimately ensures their long-term retention in the local 4-H program, which leads to kids who are more likely to live healthy, productive, and engaged lives. All of that brings me to where we are today and what we're on track to accomplish with our current 4-H year. Clay County 4-H currently reaches 300 youth and 13 community clubs, and we have more than 200 youth engaged in after-school programs. We have partnerships in place with all 5 public school districts, and we have 11 program after-school sites. Within the community club program, 46 youth hold leadership roles in their clubs, like club officers. We have additional youth that hold leadership roles on our countywide committees or on the Clay County 4-H Federation board. Last fall, we provided leadership and club officer training for 13 new youth officers and 8 new volunteers and club leaders. As always, Clay County 4-H is open to youth in kindergarten through 1 year past high school. In 4-H, those young people do more than, of course, complete the hands-on projects. They'll be presented with leadership opportunities in clubs at the county level and beyond in the state level when they become healthy, engaged, and productive community members. Because of this, we appreciate the continued support of the Clay County Board of Commissioners, and we appreciate the support that you provide to the Clay County 4-H program and the young people that are in Clay County. We're going to turn it over now to my colleague Jill, who'll share more about the Ag and Natural Resource Program.
If I may, I'd like to just interject before we get to horticulture a little bit. I want to come back to Monica had talked, and just congratulations. That's an amazing amount of work. What year did you, or when did you start into the 4-H program?
When I was in second grade.
Second grade. Wow. Okay. And are there pigs on your farm already, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I have my 2 sows that I farrowed, and then there are 16 piglets that are all at home right now.
Okay. Well, very good. I'm just, all the steps you took are just amazing, and well, I just congratulate you for all that.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
What genetics are the pigs that you have on your farm?
I have a purebred Duroc litter and a crossbred Duroc litter.
Nice.
And
A bunch of colorful pigs sitting there.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are always nice to look at, so.
And then I do have one question. When you get to the, I'm just curious about the livestock knowledge bowl that you're part of. Is that a team that's local, or is that a team you're included in with others throughout the state?
it's a local team. It was 4 of us just from in Clay County.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, thank you. Any questions? All right. All right.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I would want to say too, congratulations to Monica, but also it really helps you good on public speaking. When I was in 9th grade, I was scared to death to talk in front of people. So you did terrific and really great presentation. So good job.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, we're always impressed with 4-H, and I really enjoy working with them. All right, we're going to turn over to agriculture and natural resources here in Clay County. As the agriculture and natural resource educator here in Clay County, I strive to engage with colleagues, partners, stakeholders, and volunteers to identify resident and community needs and develop lasting solutions. Through community involvement, I work to support and improve local ecosystems by providing education opportunities for residents and develop partnerships that expand our reach and impact. This year, as part of Minnesota's 87 Extension in Every County initiative, Clay County is proud to be featured as a landing page story, highlighting the local impact of extension programming and the power of community-driven efforts. Resources are shared in a variety of ways, including events and programs that encourage community participation, hands-on learning, and increased awareness of ecosystem health. Partnerships are essential to the success of this work. Some of our valued partners include the City of Moorhead, the Lake Agassiz Regional Libraries, area schools, CAP LP, MSUM, the NDSU Master Gardeners as well, Barnesville Garden Club, local nurseries, and the Minnesota Master Naturalists. Can change, yep. Oh. One more. It should be Martha, but maybe it's backwards. All right, her slide isn't in there for some reason. Well, we'll talk about Martha here. So Martha just finished her internship this last year. So now this year she is a active member of our Clay County Master Gardener volunteer program. And in her first year, last year as an intern, she really jumped into it. So she is the initiated FM Flutterfest. So if you are not familiar with that, that's a community initiative to get people involved in pollinator health and just beautification of our parks and other places here in Clay County. So I will hand it over to Martha, and she's going to talk a little bit about how Flutterfest has progressed and what we're planning on this year.
Hi, I'm really grateful to have Jill's leadership. I had a passion, and Jill has really supported that and helped it to happen. In 2025, is this on? Yeah.
Yep.
In 2025, Clay County Extension Master Gardeners began a fun and educational project to increase public awareness of the benefits of native plants. We sought to engage and inform community members about the positive steps that each of us can take. We wanted to share information about conservation and restoration of native habitat to support invertebrates and birds, the foundation of the food web. We know that native plants require less maintenance than traditional landscaping. They conserve water, stabilize soil to prevent erosion and protect waterways. They support healthy soil and even mitigate climate change. Out of the desire to share information and empower citizens, the first annual FM Flutterfest was born. In collaboration with the City of Moorhead, University of Minnesota Extension, and support from the Awesome Foundation, we organized a delightful event. Community members learned about local trees and food crops, native plants, water and soil, and of course, pollinators. That was the big focus. All this happened in a celebratory atmosphere in Gooseberry Park. We had storytelling, book giveaways, take-home plantings, face painting, bee house making, music, education about pollinators, and more. And we even planted a pollinator garden in an area in the park that needed some TLC. Our second annual Flutterfest will take place on June 23rd, 2026, from 5 to 8 p.m. at MB Johnson Park. It will be a free, family-friendly event, much like last year's. United Prairie Foundation has joined us this year, and they will be joining us along with community members in planting a beautiful new garden of deep-rooted native plants. This will improve an area of standing water, support pollinators and native wildlife, and serve as an opportunity for community members to learn about things that they can do on their own property. We are thrilled to add United Prairie Foundation and the Minnesota State University Moorhead to our list of partners. In addition to Flutterfest, we're sponsoring a community presentation by Dr. Doug Tallamy on June 25th at 7 p.m. at Langseth Hall, room 104, 600 11th Street South on the MSUM campus. Dr. Tallamy is an award-winning professor of entomology and wildlife ecology, as well as the author of multiple research publications and books, including the New York Times bestseller, Nature's Best Hope. His popular presentations have inspired individuals and communities across North America to take conservation into their own hands. We are very excited to have him come and inspire our community.
How many people do you expect for the second Flutterfest?
Well, that's
What's your
hard to
hope?
say. Our hope is at 1 to 200.
Okay.
My big hope would be a lot more. But
Yeah. Oh, sounds amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just one of the really amazing projects that our Master Gardeners bring to the community. So we're really excited every year to see how we can grow and connect with everyone and offer some great resources. Oh, go back, because I haven't done that one, because we're missing, there you go. So again, earlier you heard me touch on community engagement and our work with partners to expand our reach. Now I'd like to share a bit more about what local resources look like here in Clay County. My role focuses on providing technical assistance, supporting Master Gardener volunteers, and facilitating hands-on learning opportunities, and offering program leadership. I connect residents with research-based information, train and coordinate volunteers to extend our reach, and develop programs that reflect community interests and needs. Our programming is designed to support ecosystem health and improvement by offering practical hands-on education in areas such as home gardening, pollinator support, and sustainable land practices. Through workshops, demonstrations, and volunteer-led projects, like FM Flutterfest, participants gain experience they can apply directly in their own spaces. Master Gardener volunteers play a key role in extending our reach by sharing science-based information through events, plant clinics, and community outreach. At the same time, providing technical assistance to residents and partners seeking guidance on horticulture and environmental stewardship. Oh, yep. We're missing part of the presentation again. There we go. Yeah, all right. Right now, we're gearing up for another busy growing season, offering residents one-on-one gardening assistance through on-site visits, workshops, and community events. Our Master Gardener volunteers will also be active again throughout the summer, supporting a variety of programs and initiatives. Again, this year, we'll be doing our native plant sale fundraiser, FM Flutterfest, and our annual garden tour, which will be highlighting gardens in Moorhead, Dilworth, and Glendon this year. Extension continues to bring research and education to the community through workshops such as Winter Garden College that happened here in January, online lunch and learn webinars, and seed starting sessions, which provide participants with practical skills for home gardening. I do want to highlight again our One Vegetable, One Community program, which is a partnership between Master Gardeners and others in the community to bring education on growing a vegetable. This year is pumpkins. So along with our normal programming that we do at the libraries around growing that vegetable, we're also excited to offer the Grow the Biggest Pumpkin contest in Clay County for youth ages 18 and under. So participants will receive the seeds as usual, growing instructions, and then we're having some virtual learning opportunities with the Minnesota Pumpkin Growers Association as well. So we're looking forward to that this year.
I also want to mention that I have enjoyed reading your weekly articles in the FM Extra. That takes a lot of work to come up with those every week. But,
It's fun. I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I like to research things as well, so
right.
it's
So if you haven't, look for our articles. They're very good, and you'll learn a lot.
thank you.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about both of our programs separately, but now we're going to move into both of our departments as a conglomerate unit. So we plan to continue partnering across both of our departments to support the community. As a team, we utilize each other's expertise to elevate our programming, and we'll be working together to assist with things like the county fair, Flutterfest, day camps, and after-school programs. We're also expanding to include the One Vegetable, One Community program that Jill just mentioned into our list of partnerships. This collaboration across extension departments results in shared learning, a stronger community, and local pride.
All right. Extension programs create private value for participants, helping individuals gain skills, confidence, and knowledge that they can apply in their homes, farms, careers, and personal lives. At the same time, they generate public value by strengthening the local economy, supporting agriculture, developing future leaders, and improving quality of life for the entire community. 4-H youth development programs build leadership, responsibility, and life skills that prepare the next generation of community leaders in Clay County. Agriculture and natural resource programs support informed decision-making, help residents care for landscapes, protect resources, and support farms and businesses. Extension programming builds social capital by connecting residents, organizations, and volunteers to collaborate and address local challenges together. Thank you for supporting Extension in Clay County. Your partnership and investment help make these educational programs and community connections possible. At this time, we'll welcome any questions, comments, or feedback that you may have.
Anyone? Yeah. I just want to thank you for all your continued work. And, you know, I've been part of your board now for almost 3 years, and the growth that we continue to see, the fair, the projects, your group's growing and throughout the county. And I also have been always encouraged about the after-school programs and how we're connecting with the kids in our more our cities now. So it's great work. Thank you very much. Yeah, you had a question? Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right, next up we have Roy Beal, and here to request approval to apply for the Drug-Free Communities Grant.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here requesting just that, requesting approval to apply for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Drug-Free Communities Grant. It's a 5-year grant, $125,000 a year. There's a staff person that would be part of it. It's largely to build coalitions and continue to grow coalitions that exist. This would build on the last 5 years of work with the state-level Positive Community Norms Grant in Dilworth, Glen, and Felton, where there's been lots of education with students, engagement of the community. It would really be building on this. This grant is for 5 years. Certainly federal grants aren't easy to get, but we feel like we're in a strong position to be considered. Deadline is April 14th to apply, and funding would begin on September 30th.
Any questions for Roy?
Just a comment, Rory and the whole team over there, particularly Jason, has done a great job with the funding we've gotten from a lot of these grants in the past. They have a very, DGF, a very good program started, so certainly, having said that, I move that we approve public health staff to apply for the Drug-Free Communities Grant.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just one comment. Will you let us know if we receive this grant or don't receive this grant?
For sure.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Rory.
Thank you.
Morning.
Yes, good morning, board members. I'm here with James today to discuss a possibility of James. He has a program of taking over Suite 103C in the Family Service Center. So if you're familiar with it, it's a 962 square foot small space over by the mailroom just down the hall from James's administration office. So we've done some discussing about a program, and I'll let him talk in a minute here, but currently right now it's occupied by Birthright, which has been a long-term partner with us and obviously has a great program. So I did meet with them a couple different times to discuss what that would look like if they went to an alternate location. They have found something right now, and currently their leases goes through June, but the space that they would like to go to, I think they would like to be out by April 1st, which is pretty quick. As far as James's need, I don't think there would be a vacancy between them moving out and James moving in, but I will let James go through what he's proposing for the space.
Yeah, morning, Commissioners. Yeah, the proposal would be is, right now as the Juvenile Center is expanded quite a bit, would be two-pronged for that space. One would be some office space, 2 offices, and then the other thing would be for some specialized programming for some youth in our non-secure. So I would go to licensing and request a variance if approved to use that space. I would get a variance to program youth in there on a one-on-one. Primarily, we're looking at the non-secure youth that we tend to get from time to time. We've been saying it for a long time. It's all across the state, there's no placements available for these youth. And there's such a wide variety between the youth of, their needs, especially when you have youth with autism spectrum disorder, or, fetal alcohol syndrome. They tend to be overstimulated, and not having an individualized space for them to be able to go and be programmed is difficult for them to program basically in an open pod with other youth around and distractions. Right now, we do a pretty good job stabilizing a lot of youth, and hopefully they can go somewhere else, but sometimes that stabilization period takes a long time, and it's been stretching into months and months. And we'd like to provide these youth with some additional opportunities other than just stabilization, provide them with some growth. And to be able to do that, we would need that one-on-one space, and this would provide us a great opportunity to provide that one-on-one space to provide some growth for those youth.
Is this an area that would be just used for education consulting with them, or in fact, will they still be housed in the part where they're currently at?
Yes, they would still sleep there, but they would have like a programming space there. So like a classroom, we'd build like 2 little classrooms basically in there, and kind of specialize it to whatever their needs are at the time. And we would utilize it, and then so would we would, if the school needs it too, for their one-on-one, because they're coming down with their IEPs and stuff like that too, that have different space and different needs. So basically it'd be kind of a classroom type of a setting that they would be there during the day-ish, or periodically throughout the day, and then they would sleep back in the pod.
Any other questions, anybody? Yeah?
Yeah, this will be part of the non-secure.
That is correct, yes. But there's 2 office space needs too, that would be primarily occupied by, a lot of it would be secures needs. So especially when you talk about the SBS stuff, and the integrity and compliance issues and stuff that we'd like to really wrap up around the SBS, which is the safety-based separation. A lot of that is heavily into some of the office space needs would be our current trainer and that other person. They're not in their offices all day, but they're in their offices maybe about 20 hours a week, if that. But they do need their own space. And in addition, currently right now the plan is to move the trainer's office and the training material to this space, and then have Josh move into where the trainer's office currently is, because right now Josh's office is technically in our conference room. So it's dueling up so when we have probation or social services or the courts or professional meetings, with parents and stuff like that, Josh has to vacate his area. And it's not the best too, because then Josh can never leave, confidential stuff out on youth and stuff like that. So it'll be a win-win. It's very much needed. We need office space, and also we need this area for the non-secure youth that we get from time to time.
You'll have, and I'm somewhat familiar with the space. Is there an entrance from the outside for the schools?
No, it's just one door entrance. Yep.
Okay. And that's off the hall now?
It's off the end of the hallway, yep.
Yeah, okay.
And just as far as that space too, there's not really any major fit-up needs that come with this, because it's already been kind of redone. I think it flooded a couple of years ago, and we ended up redoing it anyways. But, and then financially, the space right now for the Family Service Center Enterprise, we have an estimated revenue of $13,227 per annually. So, and that would be covered by your
Enterprise fund, yep.
enterprise fund, yeah, so.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to make a motion to approve occupancy of Suite 103C at the Family Service Center by West Central Regional Juvenile Center.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Bear seconded. Any other discussion, questions?
Just a little discussion. This went through the building committee with approval told them to bring it to the board once they figured out with birthright. And this does fill a need in the county for office space and our youth to get the extra help that they need, so.
Great. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? None? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Next, we have our annual department update of social services, children and family services, and behavioral health and adult protection divisions.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I am going to do a lot less talking than I normally do today, so that's
How about introductions, Glenn?
probably good for everybody. Yes, we'll do introductions first. Amy, do you want to start with you?
I'm the ongoing supervisor for protection, ongoing case management. Michelle Thordahl. And I'm Kirsten Lepard. I'm supervisor of behavioral health and adult protective services.
Just two quick notes before I kick it over to these remarkably talented individuals. Number one, Tiffany January is out ill today. She really tried, but I don't want her to come in when she's sick, so we'll be covering for the intake, assessment, and investigations component of child protection. That's what Tiffany January supervisors. And secondly, I saw extension. I don't know it's going to be as riveting as the hog information. We're going to try. We're going to try, but high bar to be set there. So we will start with our adult and behavioral health unit and Kirsten.
That set the bar really high right there, so we'll see what we can do. So as I said, I'm Kirsten, and I supervise behavioral health and adult protection. Within our unit, we are pretty unique in that we have three distinct program areas, adult mental health, substance use disorders, and adult protection. So next slide just shows through adult mental health the services that our unit provides, both voluntary and involuntary services. The voluntary services are the Rule 79 adult targeted case management that's down in the lower right. We have had some pretty significant changes to that smaller unit within the past couple of months. Lori Flores, who has been our veteran Rule 79 case manager of 18 plus years, has retired. Her official last day is this Friday. So that in and of itself was a pretty significant change to our unit. Next week, coming over from Tiffany's unit, Stacy P. will be joining our team, and we are looking forward to having her come over and join us. And then last July, Quinn and I met with all of you to talk about some needs in our unit and within the community, and graciously you all approved for us to hire a second Rule 79 case manager. So Kevin came over from Amy's unit in November, and he has been a wonderful addition to our team. So I think moving forward, Stacy and Kevin, they're going to rock this. So thank you again for graciously allowing us to hire him. It's been a gap filler in our community. Commissioner Krabenoff attends our LAC meeting, and he hears every month the wait list for some of our other community providers, and so this just kind of filled a need that we had identified. Stacy, Brittany, and Megan make up the rest of our adult mental health team. They have been a very cohesive, smaller unit for the past 7 years, and they monitor our civil commitments. So that is anyone with mental illness who poses a danger to themselves or someone else. We work very closely with Mr. Melton and his team in moving forward and identifying individuals that may need a civil commitment. The three of them also have clients that are placed in the forensic mental health program located in St. Peter, and that consists of individuals that have been committed either as sexually dangerous or mentally ill and dangerous. So I think last count we have 13 individuals that are committed to that program. And then Stacy and sometimes Brittany as a backup also do level 2 screenings, and those are pre-admission screenings for an individual who has a mental illness that may need a nursing home placement. So that's kind of a high overview of what our mental health unit does. The next screen talks about our pre-petition screening numbers. And so that is anybody that we screen for civil commitment. And so that can be a person with a mental illness, it can be a person with a substance use disorder. And over the past couple years, those numbers have gone down. On paper, it looks like maybe it's less work, but I'm going to tell you that it is not less work for Brittany and Megan and Stacy. So how I view that is the numbers may show that it's lower. So one may go, less work, there's not as much to do. Really what that allows the three of them to do is to provide a more in-depth case management experience for those individuals that they are working with under civil commitment. They haven't been able to provide that comprehensive case management in previous years because there's just the sheer volume of cases that we have had. So our hope is, and hopefully the numbers will continue to reflect this when Quinn or myself come back in subsequent years, is that by being able to provide that comprehensive case management, getting folks hooked up with the appropriate mental health services or services for their substance use, focusing on housing and making sure that they have supportive housing, whatever that looks like for that individual. Hopefully downstream that means that we don't have to work with Mr. Melton's unit on continued commitment or a recommitment or even a new commitment several years down the road. By being able to provide some of that upfront, in-depth case management, we're hoping that these numbers continue to decrease. So we'll see. Maybe next year we'll say something else. But today that's what I'm going to go with. If you're able to provide those comprehensive services, the hope is that we set people up for support and success in the community. And then they won't need to come back to our team. The next slide just shows the numbers of commitments, actual civil commitments. So the first one was the number that we had screened. This is actual number of commitments over the past several years, and that's remained fairly consistent. And that would also include any Rule 20s that we maybe work with the county attorney's office on as well. So this slide is my least favorite. Oh,
Let me ask, for the last two, we're seeing, I mean, the one, we were seeing that downtrend, here we see a little bit. Is there something, I mean, this is a positive, obviously.
Definitely.
But is there something in the community occurring that is bringing those numbers down, the trends, or is it recovering from COVID or whatever?
Well, again, my hope is just setting folks up with the services that they need and the staff having the time to do so. Again, in previous years, we just haven't had the time to dedicate as in-depthly as we have in the last year or two. And so I think that's shown that positive decrease. I'm going to look at it as a positive. Other than that, I guess I don't know if there's anything specific trend-wise, but I'll look for that and I'll get back to you. Okay, so this slide is my least favorite, but we put it in here because you all need to be aware of just some of the costs that we really have no control over. So again, the folks that are committed as sexually dangerous, those do not originate with our office or even at the county attorney's office. Those are individuals that have served their prison sentence and that have been identified as possibly needing civil commitment. And then the Attorney General's office files those, and then we are notified after the fact, typically. But nonetheless, we still incur those costs of treatment for them. And the DNMC costs as well. So when an individual is placed in a community behavioral health hospital or at Anoka, and the team determines that they no longer need that level of care, if a community setting hasn't been identified or it's not available at that particular time, then the county is paying 100% of that hospital cost, which can be anywhere from $2,100 to $2,300 a day. And again, we don't have a lot of control over that, unfortunately.
Commissioner Emerson.
Yeah, just a question. During this legislative session, and Mr. Melton may have some input on this too, there is discussion, and you never know where to separate the rumors from the valid discussion, but discussion that some of the individuals who were sex offenders who were sent to St. Peter's are going to be released back into the community.
That, I'm going to talk about that in a later slide.
Okay,
Good question,
I'll hold
though.
my thoughts on that, though. Thank you.
Yes. So then the next slide, if there's no other questions about that one. So in all three program areas, we added a slide like this just to show some of the partnerships that we have within our unit and just some of the collaboration that the individual staff partakes in. So again, we work very closely with the county attorney's office. We work very closely with our law enforcement throughout the county. We work with jail personnel, again, the local advisory council that Commissioner Krabanoff sits on. There's just a lot of different entities. And this slide really truly only shows those locally within our county. This doesn't show anything statewide. And the three mental health workers work with many providers, many different entities across the state of Minnesota in collaborating and just that partnership in providing the very best service. So this is just kind of a quick snapshot of some of the entities that we work with here in our local community. So the next division is our substance use disorders, and it just kind of talks about our process here. So Cheryl, who is the unit's case aide, she gets referrals, requests for comprehensive assessments. So she schedules those with Desra and Sheena. They are our two LADCs that provide comprehensive assessments. And in 2025, we completed 274 comprehensive assessments. So that's a pretty good number for basically 1.5-ish staff providing those assessments. From there may be a recommendation for treatment coordination. So treatment coordination is basically case management for an individual who has been identified with a substance use disorder. And so we have 4 staff that do treatment coordination. And as of last week, we had 33 individuals that were receiving that service. And those referrals can be internally, they can come from prisons. We get them quite often from prisons. And we've also been working fairly closely with our detox in providing some of that treatment coordination for individuals that have been placed at detox. So Sheena and Chelsea, so Chelsea came over from Tiffany's unit last May, so stealing a lot of people from child protection, sorry guys. Those two also sit on our DWI court. They participate in that, and currently we have 11 individuals or 11 participants in DWI court. Sheena and Chelsea and Josh and Holly also participate in our drug court, and we currently have 13 participants. Holly is also sitting, she's a member of our Veterans Court team, so very active with our specialty courts. Holly, Josh, and Chelsea also do civil commitments for individuals with a substance use disorder, and we currently have 10 individuals under civil commitment from that. Some of those individuals, when their commitment ends, they may want to maintain some type of support with the county. So currently we are providing voluntary case management, not a billable treatment coordination, but just kind of an overall service. So we currently have 3 individuals there. And then we also work closely with our child protection units for women that may be pregnant and using substances as well. So we currently have 2 open cases there and coordinating with child protection. So that's kind of a high overview, again, of our substance use and some of the services that we provide within that team. And again, this slide just shows all of the partnerships. We talked about our specialty courts, working with the jail. One other area I'd like to highlight is working with public health in the school prevention program, so the positive community norms in the DGF schools, and sources of strength, which I believe is in Moorhead, Holly, and Barnesville, so collaborating with them as well. So again, this just shows on a local level and a state level just how much time is put into collaborating, which is pretty huge for our unit. And the third division is our adult protection, and that is Tracy and Dane. And these numbers, again, are showing that consistently we are screening right around 550 vulnerable adult reports per year, and we are screening in to assess those reports pretty consistently, 165, 170-ish over the past 2 years. So what I want to focus in through adult protection is not just the numbers, but in the last year and a half, DHS has really changed the focus of adult protection, moving from a very reactive system to hopefully a slightly more proactive system. And so that means they have changed every tool, every assessment that Dane and Tracy utilize, and have done so over the last year and a half. And the two of them have handled that very graciously. It's been a lot thrown at them, and they've been able to manage that and still remain pretty positive, which is difficult to do some days when you get thrown in all these new assessments at you, while still trying to provide the service. So the main goal through adult protection is making sure that the vulnerable adult is safe, and then preventing any further maltreatment. So that remains the goal, whether we are a reactive or a proactive system. So again, this slide just shows the collaboration that we have with law enforcement, the fire department, our partners across the river in Cass County. We work closely with them because our folks go across the river, and so we work closely with them as well. So the next slide is some of the things on the horizon, and Commissioner Ebinger, this is what you were getting at. So when the Department of Human Services split into 3 different entities, from someone who doesn't work within the Division of Children, Youth, and Families, I thought that transition went fairly smoothly. There was a lot of communication, and Amy and Michelle may have something different to say about that, but I thought it was pretty smooth. There was a lot of announcements, DHS bulletins, different things that came out. And when they split and developed Direct Care and Treatment, DCT, there was no communication, and honestly to the point where I think counties were like, oh, that already started like 3 months ago, and there wasn't that communication piece. So we have been trying to sift through that because our team works with both DHS and DCT. I think one of the most significant changes that we have seen is some of the individuals that have been committed as sexually dangerous and housed at the Forensic Mental Health Program in St. Peter are being provisionally discharged into the community. And the first one occurred, I want to say it was last September. Worked very closely with Mr. Melton at that point in time because that's something that we hadn't encountered before. So we have had 2 individuals that have been provisionally discharged into the community, not our community. They're both still down in the metro area. We have a 3rd one that's kind of going through the process now. So eventually I think that will occur as well. And what that means for us is I've had several meetings and several discussions with other counties and with the executive director of the Forensic Mental Health Program. And we had to determine what involvement, if any, the county really had in these cases that once they've been discharged to the community. What we're hearing is direct care and treatment is solely responsible for the supervision, for all of the care, the coordination, everything, and really the county's responsibility is to pay for where they're living and their services. And so what we have seen through that is a significant increase in that cost. And again, it goes back to the one slide previously that showed that increase. When they were in St. Peter at the hospital in that program, there was a daily rate that was significantly lower than it is now that they're living in a supportive environment in the community under a provisional discharge. So that's been something pretty significant, and Quinn and I are going to continue to monitor that because that more than likely will have some significant impacts on our budget.
Is some sort of, not just the cost, which is a consideration, but what kind of intensive supervision have these people got if they're released back in the community and are a predatory sex offender?
That is all being provided through direct care and treatment, and it depends on, I think it's a 3-tiered system, so it depends on what tier they're in. Initially, my understanding is when they are PD'd into the community, I think they have to meet with the house or wherever the supportive setting that they're living in is staffed. And then my understanding is they have to meet with the reintegration agent, I think 4 times a week initially. And then as they work through these tiers, which I kind of did a deep dive before I really realized that the county wasn't going to have to provide any of the supervision. From start to finish, if all things go well, it's a several-year process to get from one tier to the next to the third one, if all goes well. So,
Just, and I don't know, Mr. Mel, maybe you've heard, are any people getting out of St. Peter's, are there some of them that are failing and are keeping them, or is this just a process where we're going to start filtering people back in? I have no problem with community corrections. I think it's an advisable deal until you get people that are a real genuine risk.
Right. I think just what Kristen was saying about too, I mean, there's a lot of levels we go through, what we call SRBs or special review boards. I mean, when these individuals are placed into the INSOP program, I mean, as she stated, I think the only correction to that is there is communication with our office. There's typically, these individuals have been in prison for serious offenses, but they're now ready to get out and be done with their prison sentence. But as they've gone through, done some different testing and some other things that go on, if they're determined to be that most serious individual that needs to be in there, then they can be, and ultimately that is the Attorney General's office that assists us, and then goes through basically what would be kind of a mini trial to look to see if they'll be placed in the INSOP program. In the past, many of the individuals that we've had, we have several that are in there that have been well over 20 plus years that are in that program. But I think back about 2-3 years ago, there were some challenges at the Supreme Court level that we're really looking at, that no individual had graduated out of that program. And again, it's not a life sentence. It is as Kirsten said, just a 3-tiered system, and looking at seeing if any of those individuals were ultimately graduating from the program. And the Supreme Court started to look at it and say some needed to be, why was there no one, or is it impossible to get through that program? So there has been looks at, and there have been, like we said, a couple that have even come out that were Clay County individuals. And so as they progress through that, it is, I mean, they have quite a few psychiatrists and psychologists that are monitoring them throughout that program. That final release, I guess that is that big question that I don't know that I understand extremely well what happens, you know, how much monitoring they have once they're released. But there is still monitoring. So, I mean, they are going through even, you know, community monitoring once they're out. I can't say that I know exactly how much that is or what they are eating, that kind of thing.
Is our parole officers here, are they doing we have an intensive supervision component of that?
I mean, that's a very much a separate thing coming out of, you know, prison if they're going in. That's a Department of Corrections. This definitely is not Department of Corrections. This is them coming out through from DHS, everything else, so.
Into a psychiatric outpatient kind of unit or residential or?
I wouldn't even call it that. I would call it community living. I mean, once they've graduated the program, they've shown they've made progress, typically 10, 15 years into it. A lot of times, most of these individuals, and I will say men, because they are all men that are in that program, typically they're in their 60s, 70s, so they're less, if you will, mobile. I mean, there's a lot of issues, but the question of having intensive supervision out in the community is definitely different than what is in that MSOP program, without question. It is them graduating to a new level, being able to be out in the community.
Are these people generally lifetime registered offenders? So there is a level of scrutiny, at least at that.
Certainly, there's, registration, there is some monitoring. I mean, maybe that's probably some questions we could come back to and get to know what that end type is. I can't really answer that, because again, I'm not on that monitoring part. I'm more on the part of when those individuals are ready to be released. We have special review boards, those panels are talking about it, those psychiatrists are showing what level they're ready to be at, if that's that third or that final tier in the community level.
And that would be, this is totally exclusive of any of the judicial?
Correct.
Yeah.
This is after their service and they've served their time. They have no new criminal offense or any other criminal monitoring. It's because they've gone to there and being monitored through that program.
So part of the development of direct care and treatment was to focus on these individuals as they're preparing for discharge into the community from the Minnesota Sex Offender Program. That was one of the main focuses of DCT. So through that process, they have hired reintegration agents, and I believe they have some type of DOC background. And they are the ones that are doing that monitoring for DCT of these. And the two individuals that we have had discharged, one is in I want to call it a adult foster care in St. Peter, right outside of St. Peter city limits. It's not billed typically like an adult foster care. This individual is not on a waiver. Some of these folks that are being discharged into the community, if they're eligible for a CADI waiver, they're put on a CADI waiver for payment. Some are just going into a housing support type environment, and that's where the county then is paying a higher cost for that daily rate. So each provisional discharge looks a little different than the next one, depending on what the individual's needs are, what kind of support they need, what kind of services they need, and where they're wanting to live as well. So again, none of the individuals have come back to Clay County. One's in St. Peter, and one I think it's Minneapolis. I'd have to double check, but I think it's somewhere in the metro. So again, they haven't chosen to come back here.
Well, our community or another one in the state, I would just hope, and it certainly isn't anything you guys have any control over or even any inside information on, I'd assume, but I hope the screening process is sufficient. And consequences, if somebody gets out, well, I guess there'd be additional charges. But I'm not an optimist with that particular body of offenders.
I mean, they are on a provisional discharge, and I have seen the PDs. I mean, typically for our folks that are under an MI civil commitment, the PD, there's like 4 stipulations that they have to follow. Take your meds, pretty simple things. The 2 provisional discharges that I have seen, there are like over 30 stipulations that have to be met. So it's pretty thorough. In my opinion, I think it's pretty thorough.
Okay.
So, and if there's a reoffense, or if they do not follow their provisional discharge, they will be revoked and sent back to the program. So.
Okay, I feel a little better about it having it explained, but.
That is a big change for us. That is something that came up last fall that was kind of new. Reached out to Mr. Melton right away and said, what do we know about this? Because it was something new for our office. So we will continue to monitor that as much as the county needs to be involved, I think. And that's something I've talked to Quinn about as well, is, you know, what type of involvement should we have or do we need to have? So we're still kind of working through that as well. Right now, we are financially responsible for them yet, so that's what we're.
How many Clay County folks do we have up there? Do you know, Brian?
9. We had 9 to have been discharged.
Yeah, I was going to guess
Or it was
somewhere about
11 and
10.
now we
Yeah, I
have
thought
9.
about we had double digits one time, and some have been there pretty long, and others have, you know, gone through. I think one of the questions, or, you know, as the board might know, and I think I've discussed this before, you know, one of the questions that came back those few years ago was the question of whether or not the program itself was constitutional. That's what really came down to. Just, I think what Commissioner Eberner said, it's difficult to, most of these individuals have been long-term sex offenders with multiple, not 1, 2, more 10 or more type offenses. And so that's the question, but the ultimate question became if ultimately no one could ever make it out of that program and it was more like a life sentence, which we don't just give, then the question was whether or not the program would be completely dissolved and all those individuals would be released into the community, which is an extremely worse question when you look at the amount. When we have 11, let's say, or even now 9, but if each county has somewhere around there and they had 80 to 100 people in that program, and if all of those were released in the community, that would be the worst result you could possibly see. And so certainly they're doing a lot of monitoring with these individuals, a lot of work. It is a long-term program, without question. This is not a 1, 2, where some people might have tried to apply even after they got to 5 years, and they're not likely making that as they move through those tiers to be released anytime soon until they know that they've hit benchmarks. And so there is a lot of monitoring to it. I'd want to assure the board and the community of that without question. There's a lot of monitoring and watching these individuals. Kirsten, in her entire program, and just as Commissioner Kravinoff said, you know, when we are looking at the continuum of care that goes on there of all the commitment process, you know, what we're hoping to do is make sure individuals are stabilized. Some of those numbers all kind of work together across the board. What we're seeing reduced, hopefully, in the jail, so the jail isn't seeing these individuals. We're getting them stabilized. They're not getting out doing other crimes, that kind of thing, all the way across the board. And then, of course, the most serious individuals, these individuals that are sexual offenders and the ones that are SDP, sexual deviant individuals. I mean, they're the people we want in there long-term, as long as we can. But the ones that can make it through the program, we obviously have to try to work with that.
Move on.
Yeah, that's a little bit reassuring. It's not great that we have to pay for it, but that's part of what we do as a government, so.
And thank you for that. And do you have more?
I think I have
All right.
enough.
That was a tough ending there. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kristen. And just to add to that, I think one of the 2 individuals that was provisionally discharged was in there for about 12 years, I think, from what I remember. So again, this is not like you do 9 months worth of treatment and then you're out. It's a multi-year process. But yeah, obviously the concern is that somebody that's out in the community then reoffends, and that's probably worst case scenario. So we'll continue to monitor it and hope for the best. I'm going to kick it over to Amy and Michelle with our child protection update.
Okay, good morning, commissioners and everyone, and thank you for having us. In our Children and Family Services Division, we have 3 units, 3 supervisors, Tiffany January, who's a supervisor of intake and assessment, myself, who's the supervisor of ongoing case management, Michelle Thordahl, who's the supervisor of ongoing child protection case management and children's mental health. Within those units, we have 2 intake workers, 8 assessment workers, 14 case managers, and 5 case aides. Services we provide to the community are receiving abuse and neglect reports from the community, arrange for emergency out-of-home placements due to safety, conduct child protection investigations and assessments, provide child protection and child welfare case management, voluntary and court-ordered supervised contracted children's mental health services, including supervised contracting children's mental health services, including the Village, Lutheran Social Services, Lakeland Mental Health Solutions, Rainbow Bridge, and conducting mandated reporter training in the community and in the schools. So for our intake and assessment data, bear with me, this is not my area of expertise, but in 2025, our overall intakes were down 2,153 from 2024. Our child protection intakes, which include maltreatment reports, were up in 2025 at 1,622 from 1,595, and our overall cases that were opened up were increased at 406 from 305. So in 2025, 56% of the cases opened were closed without referring to case management. In previous years, we have seen the number of cases referred for case management much lower, indicating more families needing sustained interventions.
Mm-hmm. So the types of maltreatment that are being screened in is listed up there. Neglect, particularly tied to substance use, continues to be the primary reason for our screened-in reports. Reports can contain multiple allegations of maltreatment, sometimes several, so the numbers aren't going to equal 100%. But primarily, we are seeing that neglect with substance use, followed by physical abuse and sexual abuse.
So in 2025, we had 146 unduplicated youth in out-of-home placement. Unduplicated means each child is counted once in the year, regardless of how many out-of-home placement moves occurred. In 2016, we had 292 children in placement. In 2025, that number was down to 146. That's a 50% decrease over 9 years. We are placing substantially fewer children than we were less than a decade ago to our team getting out there, creating safety plans, engaging family members, community members, and developing safety plans to keep kids in their home. So where are these children that are in out-of-home placement? The primary location of children in out-of-home placement remains with non-relative foster care homes and our teenagers who primarily are placed at West Central Regional Juvenile Center due to the lack of foster care homes for adolescents. Followed by that, we do the next highest placement setting is our pre-adoptive kinship homes, followed by relative foster homes.
Is the foster care number, is it stable or is it still going down or?
It continues to, we've continued to see a decrease in it every year. So in regards to our state and federal measures in 2025, in regards to relative foster care, the performance standard is 35.7%, and Clay County came in at 54.8%. We had been on a performance improvement plan for several years in this area and were able to get off that performance improvement plan. Again, our workers getting out there right away, identifying grandparents, aunts and uncles, relatives, significant relationships to those children, and placing those children in those settings. Our monthly face-to-face caseworker visits, meaning our caseworker is getting out into the community, whether it's here in Clay County or wherever the child might be placed, and getting those face-to-face monthly visits. The performance standard is 95% or greater, and in 2025, we met that goal at 97.2%. Timelines to initial contact, the performance requirement is 100%. We met that goal, or excuse me, our score at that goal was 91.7%, but they don't actually measure that goal until, or put you on a performance improvement plan unless you're 90% or lower, so we still actually were in compliance with that measure. As far as maltreatment reoccurrence, the performance standard requirement is 9.1% or less, and we came at 5.9% in 2025.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about prevention services. We know prevention is key to keeping families and children out of our child protection system. And we're really able to provide a lot of these prevention services through the contracts that we hold with some of our mental health providers. So we wanted to highlight a couple of those areas. One of the things that I think has had a really big impact on our work is our family group decision-making process and our wraparound services. We contract with the Village for those services, and Lakes Crisis Center in Detroit Lakes. Those are really front-end we refer to family group decision-making so families can be in the driver's seat of their own plan. And we've seen a lot of success and reunification happen or placements prevented from being able to offer those things early on in the case. So we're really grateful for that partnership. Our family skills and in-home therapy contracts that we have with LSS and the Village. In-home workers are really hard to find, and so we're really grateful that they've been able to keep people in those positions. We do sometimes see wait lists, but yet there's trying to work through those wait lists pretty quickly to get those services in with these families to keep these children in the home. Our parent support outreach program, we also contract with the Village. That is a program that we refer out any screened out child protection reports, and then they do outreach to the family, trying to prevent them from coming back into our system. So those are some really big items that we put money into, we have contracts for, and we've really seen success in trying to keep our numbers down and out-of-home placement numbers down. So some of the updates in child protection, MAFBA, I'm sure Quinn has talked about that here. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, but we anticipate this will have a very big impact on our work. This law is going to expand January 1st, 2027. There's still a lot of things that are some moving pieces to it, but it essentially is going to require social services agencies to provide active efforts to African American families, similar to the Indian Child Welfare Act. Our motivational interviewing requirement for our child protection case management staff, I think I talked about that here last year. It's a very intensive training that they have to go through. They have to upload videos every quarter and for fidelity monitoring. So it takes a lot of time out of their day-to-day work, but we are able to capture revenue from them doing that for the work that they're doing with the families. So we're excited to see where that will go in the future. The mandatory offering of voluntary services for attendance-based concerns. This year, I think it was January 1, or I don't know when it rolled out. Do you know? Okay. Okay. So, social services is required to offer voluntary services to a child who meets criteria for truancy, basically. Where before we were not required, we could screen and we had discretion. Now we are required to do that, and I think that speaks to why we've had more open cases. As far as the delinquency age is changing from 10 to 13. As of August 1st, 2026, we will be mandated to offer services to a child who's committed a delinquency crime. We
do anticipate that will impact our caseloads. We're just unsure of how, but we would imagine it's going to increase our assessments and some case management in that area as well. So some of the challenges in child protection, one of the most significant challenges continues to be that access to those high-level behavioral health services, the QRTP, PRTF, hospital level of care. You've heard us say that. We sound like a broken record, but it does continue to be one of the main challenges that we see. The needs of the youth that we're seeing is increased, and the availability of these placements just have not kept pace with that. We're also seeing workforce challenges across providers, which impacts availability of in-home services and supports to the family. If we didn't have the contracts that we had, I think we would be in a much different position, but they also struggle to keep staff in those positions. So, but we do have a close relationship with them, meeting with them regularly, and they do a really good job of getting people into the homes as quickly as possible. We ourselves have had difficulty in staff retention. I think Kirsten alluded to it, but I think we've had 8 staff turnover this year in child protection. So there's the training that is needed before they can take a full caseload is very extensive. So, you have people having to work a caseload and a half to cover for the people who aren't able to take those full cases, or if there's a vacancy, and the work is really stressful and hard, so we do a lot to try to keep everybody above the water.
May I ask, are the colleges, are they bringing in pretty good potential workforce for this area?
There is a Child Welfare Scholar program at MSUM, just MSUM? Yeah. Or at Concord, no, just MSUM. But we've seen not as many people reach out for internships the last year or two. We were in a position too when we were short-staffed that we didn't feel like we were in a position to take interns. So I don't know if, because we didn't take anybody for like a year, maybe that played into that. We're not sure, so I don't know.
But we continue to do a lot. We have a lot of staff who go and present at the colleges all the time, just kind of recruiting, getting the word out there about the county. And
front of mind, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, and then from a placement perspective, there continues to be a shortage of foster care homes. Amy alluded to that already, but especially for those older youth. We continue to see housing be a barrier for families and affordable child care as well.
So some of our successes for child protection in 2025, as far as permanency for adoption successes, we had 10 adoptions in 2025 and 9 transfers of permanent legal and physical custody to relatives or kins. We also reunified, with the help of Family Group, a child with a non-custodial parent in the state of New Mexico. We had one youth who was placed in West Central Regional Juvenile Center for 1,384 days, who actually we had some attempted placements prior to or during that time frame that failed, but we finally were able to move him out into the community, into an established group home, and he's having success. We continue to work closely with the county attorney's office on the finalization of adoptions. Average days from filing an adoption petition to an adoption is 28 days. So our partnership with that has really moved those kids quicker to permanency versus those families having to go out and seek private counsel. We've also increased the number of children placed with relatives and kins and are no longer on a performance improvement plan, which is a great thing in our world, so.
Amy's downplaying the PIP that we were on forever. Apparently all it took was I needed to get out of being a supervisor, and then Amy and Michelle and Tiffany took care of it. So it's super happy to see, because we always have the attitude that if kids can't do well with their moms and dads, they should be with family. So to see not only hitting that benchmark, but to crush that benchmark. Basically what that measures is the amount of days all kids in foster care spend with a relative. So to see 54% of all of the days of every child that's in foster care, 54% of those days were with relative placements is heartwarming and awesome, and something that they measure us well for. So awesome job to you guys there.
I just want to thank you and your staff for all your work, your dedication, passion that I see, and it's so complex. I mean, right? And we do the best we can do, and we're certainly here to support you. So, thanks again. Any other comments? Yeah. Thank you. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? All right, we're back. We'll go to our addition to the item today for request approval to submit application for congressional directed funding for the West Central Regional Juvenile Center and the non-secure juvenile facility.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As this board is certainly aware, you've put a lot of time and energy over the last several years at looking at increasing the level of care that we just heard about from social services and the needs of our youth, specifically into both a psychiatric residential treatment center and also a non-secure juvenile facility. And so as you've worked hard over the last several years down in St. Paul to receive funding, we've been successful in receiving some funding from DHS in regards to transferring funds, transferring the current juvenile non-secure facility into a psychiatric residential treatment facility, and our focus now is how to receive the $28 million of a new facility. And so we're always looking for any opportunity, in addition to state funding and local dollars to build that program. And so we've had some discussions from the congressional directed spending. We've applied for different grants throughout the years, whether that's been the Water District, our Withdrawal Management Detoxification Facility. And so what I would have before you this morning would you consider to put requests before Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith are taking applications. I appreciate your willingness to put this on the agenda this morning. We have been watching these applications closely. The applications came out Friday after our deadline, and the deadline is this Friday. So I left a short window. And so the request before you this morning would be to submit an application in the amount of $5 million for each Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith, and I would yield for any questions.
I'll just add, last week I talked to Tina Smith, or Senator Smith's assistant, Jordan, and talked to him about this application. He knows we're interested, and he said that between Senator Smith and Klobuchar, they kind of bring the two together, and then they talk about them together. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve submittal for congressional directed funding application for the West Central Regional Juvenile Center non-secure juvenile facility.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None.
Thank you.
Passes. All right, committee reports and any other discussions? Start with you, Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thursday, the 19th, I virtually attended the Rethinking Mental Health and Substance Misuse Coalition meeting. Had a very good presentation by Jennifer Ilyich of First Link, looking at the 988 extension for suicide intervention and the 211 resource navigation, which covers everything from mental health issues to food support requests or locations they can go to. It can also be used to notify mobile mental health in this area is supported by Lakeland for dispatch of people when they're in mental health crisis. Annabelle Default did a good substance use session. There's a listening session at MSUM now or M-State, I'm sorry, that they're conducting right now, getting an idea on substance use, thoughts and perspectives of students, and some of the results they're getting from those surveys. And that completes that. Later that day, I attended Chamber of Commerce Civics on Tap at Swing Barrel. They had 6 of us local elected officials, and it's kind of a roundtable thing where we had citizens there. We went from table to table. Every 12 minutes they moved us. And it was really, it was both fun and it was informative, I think, for us, the elected officials that were there. And I think we were able to provide some insight to the citizens we were talking to. Kudos to the chamber. As always, they do a great job. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Bear.
Last Tuesday evening, I went to the Clay County Planning Commission where we heard 2 requests for one request for an interim use permit amendment right outside of Holly. It would be the CJ, the JC's, in the JC, what is it called here? Let me just bring it up real quick. That'll be CJ's boarding right outside of Holly. They wanted to go from 25 animals up to 80 animals to be housed there at any given time. And that amendment passed to their interim use permit. And then we also heard one from Glendon Rod and Gun Club, a request for a conditional use permit amendment for their hours of operation sitting out there in Glendon. That one also was approved, and that one was, they were asking for space for our sheriff's department and law enforcement agencies in Clay County so they could shoot at night, so they can get that type of training done, which they have to do at least once a year. So we approved that amendment as well. And then also, we had a little bit of a 2025 Minnesota DNR groundwater areas of concern report. We went over that, and we also had a planning commission appointment recommendation to the county board that will be coming here in the near future. Then yesterday, I went to the Wild Rice Watershed 1 plan meeting up in Ada, where we went over the FY23 and FY25 financial reports, and we also last November, we were talking about tracking, how we track all the reporting and all the projects that are going on, and we approved a database to track that. It would be MS4 front and B spreadsheet. Is unanimously passed. It's Houston Engineering puts that on, so we'll be able to track all the projects we do there for Watershed 1 plan. We also agreed to send in the application for FY27 at just over $2 million for that application. And we also had a report on the 2025 projects, and our next meeting would be November 30th, and that's what we discussed at that, and that is all my reports, Chair.
Thank you. Well, I was gone last meeting, so my reports will start back on the 11th, March 11th, that Wednesday. I joined Commissioner Mojo, and I were as part of the Moorhead and Detroit Lakes area day at the Capitol. Commissioner Mojo reported on that last week. Again, the chamber does a fantastic job. It's good to have our connections with all our representatives and, express the needs that are wanted here and we need in our area. On Friday the 13th, that was part of my weekly PRTF, non-secure bonding strategy group. That discussion had a lot to do with the few days that we've just been at the Capitol, whether it was at AMC or the Chamber, and our strategy is moving ahead to make sure we keep getting a chance of bonding money for the new non-secure. On the 16th, I was part of the Clay County Association Townships. We were all there, and that's been reported already. On the 17th, I flew to Washington, D.C. to be part of with two others, small delegation from CAP-LP, and joining in Washington the Minnesota group and at a national gathering. That was the 18th through the 20th. At the conference, our main point, the main one, was making sure that Congress kept funding our community service block grants. We look in pretty good shape for those. They're so important because that's that flexible spending that we have in our budget that all CAP agencies have. And not all CAP agencies have a head start, but they do have other programs. And these programs, in just an example, what we do here in Clay County with those flex funds is the rural, being part of the rural bus routes, and then also adult supervisor out in senior supervisor, I'm sorry, throughout the county. We met with staffers from Michelle Fishbox. Really, it was a very good conversation, and that was mainly about senior services. And then we also met in person and with staffers with Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith in their offices. Again, both are very supportive of the work that Community Action Partner has done for years. That evening, we had a virtual meeting of again, back to our local CAP-LP. We had our Board of Directors meeting. That was very well, almost everybody on the board and our committees was at it, so maybe we should do virtual more often, I don't know. Anyway, it went very well. We had done our executive director's performance review for our director, Lori Schwartz, and her with top grades she did. We went for grants for the FM Area Foundation and other. There were 1, 2, 3, just 4 other grants that are all part of little subsidiary groups and opportunities for grants that we can work through CAP-LP, and those are all being applied for, and I would hope we'll get, I think mainly that's what I want to say about that meeting. And let's see, conference, flew back. I'm good, I'm here.
Add one.
Yeah, please.
Yesterday, I also received in the mail the mailer from the West Central Regional Water District. So those are being mailed out to the county landowners. So just so everybody's aware that they will be receiving those in the next couple of days if they have not received it already.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. What was it, 19,000?
Yes, that for the district-wide.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that public hearing will be on, well, not public, the court date is April 17th. So just so everybody's aware, those will be mailed out. So.
All right, thank you.
It's not junk mail.
Yeah. Minister Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After board meeting last week, I met with Sheriff Empty and Mr. Melton in regards to the upcoming shotgun rifle ordinance discussion that we'll be having on April 7th. That afternoon, participated in a regional administrator meeting, a lot of discussion on the impacts of paid family medical from a staffing standpoint, and also talked about the legislative session. On the 18th, our Strive group met, and we continue to prepare for our intra-governmental retreat that's coming up. On the 18th, also continued to do some work with DHS. We have, in regards to our $1.2 million for funding for the PRTF transformation, they're working on the contract, but also they've also then extended our ability to use those funds through June 30th of 2029. And so we're excited about that, not having to go back to the legislature to ask for additional funding. On the 18th, talked with Mr. Melton on several county issues. Later in the week, I worked on in anticipation of the item today, knowing that there was potentially going to be a short window. I worked on the congressional directed spending application last week, and then again for a good portion of yesterday. I hope to have that turned in by Wednesday, end of the day Wednesday. Had department head evaluation preparation. I spoke with Sheriff Empting. He'd received notification from Chief Helmick of the Moorhead Police Department that our law enforcement deputies are now no longer going to be allowed to have access to the gun range in North Moorhead for safety concerns. And so our sheriff has reached out to the Glendon Gun Club to make sure that we have access, but I know that from Sheriff Empting's standpoint, we've had some discussions at the building committee, even went back to last year, about the potential need of this in the future, and so there'll be more to come on that.
Mr. Larson, if I can just add to that, just a little perspective for us. I shut that range down as chief of police 15 years ago, somewhere about that. There were rounds leaving the range over the berm, landing in the compost area where employees were. We put a big wall up on top of the berm, and that addressed the issue temporarily. And 15 years has passed, and we have not had any progress on that. I really think the area, the Sheriff Berquist, late Sheriff Berquist, and I went out and looked at the area around the demolition landfill, area. It can be used, and it's a good location. It's close enough in to where people that are working in the city can get there. I think we're going to have to do this on our own from the sounds of it, and I just want us to be prepared for it. This is not going to be a cheap effort, but it's going to be a necessary one, and it's one way overdue. So I'm just open to us being creative and figuring out how it can be done. I know the sheriff's on top of it, but this is going to be an issue, and it's something we need to get for absolutely essential for law enforcement.
I think just a couple more things. Yesterday morning, then I participated in the AMC, first AMC legislative update from Matt Hilgart and many of the other staff at AMC. Kind of got the purview of the first month or so of this session. Again, the big deadlines are coming for the bill drops here over the next week and a half, and so a lot of focus there. Yesterday, I talked with Commissioner Kravenhoff on a series of issues with him being in Washington, D.C. Met with Quinn on a personnel matter, and also had an ongoing conversation with Sheriff Empting. Last thing, again, just for our citizens, next week, Tuesday is our 5th Tuesday, so we will not be meeting on the 31st. Our next meeting will be April 7th. Okay, that concludes at 5 p.m. That concludes my report.
You didn't have anything?
No, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You caught me off guard. On Tuesday, March 17th, we had a safety committee meeting Went over the quarterly accident report. Severe Weather Awareness Week is April 13th through the 17th, with a tornado drill on Thursday, April 16th. We talked about the exposure control plan and bloodborne pathogens, and then talked a little bit about the safety training program and fire extinguisher training. I also had on that day the Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission. Board of Adjustment, we had 2 requests for variances. One was pulled at the last minute, and Commissioner Bear covered the Planning Commission already. Wednesday, the 18th, we had a Strive for Excellence meeting, discussed leadership training and upcoming managers retreat. Had a discussion with Jesse on the benefits coordinator on some grid placement for the assistant jail administrator. Worked on some union negotiations data. On the 19th, sat in on a meeting with MCCC and a presentation from Improv, which is a contracted company through MCCC to help us with UKG issues. And I had a meeting with Melissa on some personal issues. On Friday the 20th, started working on some of the budget process. And then on Monday, I also listened in on the AMC legislative update, and then had some discussions with Steve, Quinn, Justin, and Jesse on some multiple personnel issues. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Second chance, Brian. All right, Sarah? All right. Anything else, anybody? Hearing none, we're adjourned.